having an inclusive workforce and an inclusive mindset is just so that no one is discriminated against, whether that's age, sex, sexual orientation, religion, race, whatever it is. Everybody's different. Who says that one size fits all?
There's a vast pool of talented people from diverse backgrounds who are perhaps unaware of the opportunities in utilities. Embracing this talent is crucial.
If people feel included, they're more likely to want to stay, they're more likely to tell their friends, their family, and you obviously attract more people, you attract larger talent pools. It's just about making sure people feel supported.
One of the best things that actually made me come to Network Plus was the fact that my mentor at the time said, you are in an office whereby the CEO, the directors all work in the same office.
At Network Plus, we want to be the best. And that means embracing diversity and nurturing an inclusive working environment. We're making progress, but there's still more to do.
You don't have to be going through your own personal journey, you don't have to be able to resonate with someone, but if you've got a passion to be able to support the people that work in your office, or to be able to support the teams that you're working with, then get involved.
I'm your host, Andy Donnelly. In this episode, I'm joined by colleagues who are driving inclusion at Network Plus. We'll discover what motivates them, explore their strategies, and delve into the approaches they have taken, the lessons learned, and the future plans at Network Plus. It's a conversation not to be missed. Welcome to the Network Plus podcast. Can I ask you to introduce yourselves, tell us about your role and those additional roles that have brought you here today, starting with you, Eve.
Yeah, I'm Eve Leary. I work as the HR business partner. I also help lead the diversity forum as well, alongside with my other colleagues.
Tracy Derbyshire, so I'm head of operational HR at Network Plus, and alongside the day job for me is running Women in Network Plus with my colleagues.
I'm Laura Wollstonecraft. I'm HR admin and training manager and take the lead on all things wellbeing and mental health.
Okay, well, thanks again for introducing yourselves and thanks for joining us. Let's start with you, Tracy, because you're head of operational HR, which means that you've got certainly a responsibility for oversight at the very least in terms of, say, the Equality Act, to make sure that Network Plus lives up to its legal obligations. But you go beyond that, obviously, through the Women in Network Plus forum, for example. So what motivates you? What motivates you to go beyond simply making sure that Network Plus lives up to its legal obligations?
So I think, looking from a HR lens, like you say, there's legislation, there's legal obligations, there's the Equality Act, like you've mentioned, we have ethics policies, diversity and inclusion policies, and I think what makes us go that extra mile is wanting to do it because we want to do it, not just because we have a legal obligation to do it. I think there is a lot of underlying legislation to everything that we do, but then you've got to bring it to life. And for me, for Women in Network Plus, bringing that to life we're quite aware in Network Plus that our stats are like 80-20 when it comes to male-female, and that just needs to get better, basically. And that's what we're trying to do. Okay.
Well, let's move over to Eve then. So I know in your younger days, post-university, you did a lot of travelling, and now does that attitude influence and that experience influence your work with the Diversity Forum? Is that what motivated you to become part of that Diversity Forum?
So I would say it probably influenced it slightly, but I do think it should just be like normal everyday practice anyway for people to feel included and obviously want to be included. Obviously we did a survey a few years ago as well, which helped influence it, and it's kind of just grown from there, really.
And Laura, mental health and wellbeing is a passion of yours. What drives that passion?
I think it's because a lot of things, as you're aware, probably come from a personal experience. So I've got my own personal experience and personal journey that I've been on in terms of mental health and anxiety. And I think what I want to be able to do then is allow individuals that work for Network Plus, the workforce, to know that there is a supportive environment for them. You know, we're in a tough industry. We work in utilities. It's not the easiest. It's probably not the easiest place to be. It's quite robust. It's quite manly. It's quite tough. And I think what we really want to do is to be able to let people know that when they need something, or if they need that support, if they need that help, that there's someone there to be able to have, to be able to relate to them and to understand. And I think it's important to become part of everyday practice, not because we have to, because it's Mental Health Awareness Week or it's Stress Awareness Week, that it just becomes part of everyday practice.
So you've got that lived experience. And how much has that helped you performing this additional role around mental health and wellbeing?
I think it helps with your own empathy. I think it helps with your own understanding. I think it helps to understand, a lot of people come to work every day with a smile on their face, but you don't always know what is going on in the background. And I think it allows you just to be open to have those conversations with people, and just to be, I love nothing more than people coming to have a conversation. Let's have a brew, we'll have a sit down, we'll have a chat, let's talk about it. There's nothing we can't try and help and support. We don't need to have experienced the same things when we're talking. Having empathy is just about showing up and being there and listening, and I think that's the most important thing.
So Tracy, you're across what Eve gets up to in terms of a day-to-day role and additional roles. The same goes for Laura. But the business in terms of the actual business benefits of what you collectively do, could you just run through what you think some of those might be?
Yeah, so I just think, having an inclusive workforce and an inclusive mindset is just so that no one is discriminated against, whether that's age, sex, sexual orientation, religion, race, whatever it is. Everybody's different. Who says that one size fits all, which has been a bit of what we've been like going, it's always like, this is how we've done it, this is how we'll continue to do it. I think it's knowing that, like Laura says, when mental health was never spoken about, even 5 years ago at Network Plus. And like Laura says, it's quite a tough environment and no one wants to admit to it or talk about it. And we just found it coming forward more and more. And I think on the Women in Network Plus side was a lot of the time, especially for me, because I've been sort of in this industry and this business for over 20 years, I was the only female sat around the table in a meeting. That still does happen some days. Now, not so much. There's normally a few of us, but that can sometimes be a daunting experience of walking in a room, especially if it's sort of, senior managers and you walk in a room and you're the only female sat around the room. And do you have a voice? Is that voice going to be listened to? And the part of the Women in Network Plus, it purely started off as a tiny little seed of let's have a group just where like-minded women can speak to each other. And it's just grown arms and legs, I think. Likewise with diversity. We, like Eve said, we did a diversity survey for the first time about 3 or 4 years ago at Network Plus, and out of that we picked 2 subjects, and they were gender and ethnicity. And the gender was the Women in Network Plus and the ethnicity was a diversity, and it's grown arms and legs into, it covers a multitude of things, but the diversity group in particular, we didn't know where to start. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what was the right thing to say or not say, or do or not do. And so that's why Eve set up with her champions to have someone from all those different backgrounds and that can just help us with it, really, because we haven't got all the answers.
Well, you know what, that's refreshing to hear you say that, because we can't all be experts, and we don't have all the answers. And I'm sure, Eve, through your experience with the Diversity Forum, it must have been invaluable just getting that range of voices.
Definitely, and I think it's educating for me as well, because like Tracy said, we don't know it all. Obviously we're tasked to do something that don't really know too much about, probably still don't know as much as I could know, which is the same probably for most people in the forum, but it's just about raising awareness, like education. People are educating us on like a daily basis, we're educating them, like it's working well, to be honest.
We'll talk more about the Diversity Forum in a second, but going back to Tracy then. So survey after survey tells us...
Picking on me.
Picking on you, Tracy.
Yeah.
So survey after survey tells us, about the business benefits of embracing diversity and nurturing inclusion.
Yeah.
So can we just talk a little bit more about what those actual hard-nosed business benefits might be?
Yeah, so I think if you make it a tick box, or you make things like this mandatory, or which is the worry of relating it back to surveys and to Equality Acts, and it's there, it's underneath, the legislation is there, we know it, and we all know how to behave and at work. But I think if you make it too much of a mandatory thing where you feel like you're tick boxing, some of your managers say you must have this, you must do this, do that, it kind of doesn't work. The business benefits of it is just having a good all-round workforce where you've got everybody's opinions, no one's feeling excluded for anything, and it's just about us being more than just a utilities company which is predominantly male. And there's no doubt about that. It is, and it was more about trying to bring forward how it feels like to be a woman when you're in Network Plus, how it feels like to sit in that room with all men. There's loads of stuff we've gone through about microaggressions and all little things like that, which is a whole nother story in itself. But it's also realising you probably see your people at work more than you see your family sometimes, because you're there for such a long time. And if you're struggling mentally or you need anything, not even mental health on the wellbeing side, then it's there. And it's just making it an attractive place to work at the end of the day, and knowing that if you want to get involved in something like that, you absolutely can.
Let's take the heat off Tracy for a second then, and bring in Laura and Eve to talk a little bit more about, from an HR perspective, what you might have noticed in terms of, say, recruitment and retention from the cultural differences that you're trying to make within Network Plus.
Yeah, I think it's changed. I think the retention obviously has improved. I think if people feel included, they're more likely to want to stay, they're more likely to tell their friends, their family. Then you obviously attract more people, you attract larger talent pools. It's just about making sure people feel supported. They've got the different networks that me, Tracy and Laura obviously support, and they've got a place to voice their opinions, ideas, experiences, whether it is positive or negative. Obviously everything kind of comes together, doesn't it? Yeah,
I think through diversity as well is, we touched on a little bit, but micro diversions, you don't even think of some of the things that like dyslexia and ADHD and things like when we talked about diversity and set it up, we were talking different religions and race and things like that, and then it's grown arms and legs into the the more micro diversity stuff that we didn't even think about, and that's the good thing that comes, and how that affects someone, the way they work, the way they speak to the manager, how they feel about coming to work, and it flows over into Laura's area as well, and they kind of work definitely together.
We've created a neurodiversity support book as well on the back of it, and I know at least one person has got diagnosed from coming to the forums and looking at the booklets, thinking them symptoms kind of look like I could have that condition, and then they've gone away, come back and told us they've been diagnosed and kind of told us what adjustments they need, and obviously we've then worked with the manager to put them adjustments and support in place.
Well, that sounds fantastic, because I'm assuming that person and other people might be lost to the business if that support didn't exist.
Yeah, could be, because they're obviously struggling themselves, they're not sure what they need, the manager isn't really sure, and it kind of bridges that gap essentially.
I think as well, I've been with the business probably coming on 10 years this year, so I've seen, I know we've all sort of got long service as well, so we've all seen lots of changes, and the biggest thing for me is those things that we're talking about with the inclusion, diversity, with mental health and wellbeing, that over the years I've seen that become part of everyday practice. And if I can tell you what it was like when I first started in this industry, in the company that I started with, to what we are now, it's a very different place, different workplace. And for me, I wouldn't still be here if it wasn't somewhere that I felt that I was part of something special. Even on my worst days, on the days when everything gets messed up, or it's always a really good day. I always leave with we're laughing. We have a good atmosphere in the office, don't we? And I think that's what we want, the culture we want to provide for the rest of the business. So it's not just something because we have to, because such and such of legislation says that we have to, or this special event says that. It's because it's actually part of culture. And Eve is leading that with the diversity, with managers, making sure that they're open to conversations, and we're providing managers with the skills to be able to have those conversations from a mental health and wellbeing perspective. And I just think that alone retention wise, if you're talking about that, that's something that individuals that are new to the business that are coming in are looking for in that environment.
100%. We get it a lot in recruitment as well. I think people ask what we do in terms of like, have we got any support networks, what do we do for diversity and inclusion, and our recruitment team are quite good at obviously going back. They'll even now during the interview stage ask if there's any adjustments that they need. They'll obviously provide them with links to like the network, obviously ask them to look on our website. They can see it all on LinkedIn, like we're quite active. So I think it makes people want to join a company when they can see what we're actually doing.
And in a competitive job market where people to some extent can pick and choose whether they want 100%. To come and join us or whether they want to go to the company down the road, that's critical, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it just makes you realise that, you know, like what Laura's saying is, we come to work, we do a job, we've all got a day job, we've all got targets to meet, and you know, we're here to support the business as HR, and we do that, but it just shows you as coming to work that there's more. So besides your day job of sitting at your desk and doing your tasks, there's more to Network Plus than just expecting you to clock in, clock out, and that's all you're going to do. You know what I mean?
That's certainly one thing I've noticed in a relatively short space of time, is that passion and that drive to lead and create that culture right from the very top, so that it's as you say, it's not just box ticking, you're actually living it and every, you know, day in day out, and trying to sort of spread that word, spread that message throughout the organisation. So let's take a bit of a dive into Women in Network Plus, Tracy, because I know that you've been a driver behind that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Women in Network Plus story?
Okay.
And maybe some of the highlights and some of the challenges as well.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine at its inception,
you
know, there might have been a bit of resistance. I don't know.
Yeah. So it was born from an idea of just being a small group, is all we thought it was going to be, of just, if you're a female in a certain role and there were other females in a similar role or similar level or whatever to you, you could chat to each other about what it was like to work at Network Plus. That was it. That was all we were planning on doing, and we just like we'd just be there to chat to each other and say, oh, I'm coming across this. Are you? Like, what did you do about it? That was kind of it. That's how it started, and was like, let's just start doing something.
So, sorry, Tracy. So at that time then, what was the proportion of women at Network Plus and in the sort of utilities industry in general? Yeah,
so our clients are really good at having females in operational and higher level roles. I've always been of the opinion, if they can do it, why can't we? I think being in this industry for 20 years plus, which I hate to say, is... I always felt like I was the female banging my hand, you know, banging on the table of saying, what about this, and sometimes you get listened to and sometimes you didn't. We're really lucky now that a lot of our leadership, so I'm not going to lie, this was Dave Bond's idea. You know, he was like, why don't we do something like this? I've seen it done somewhere else, like, why don't we have a go? So it was like, me and Louise Holmes, come on, let's just, Louise Holmes, she's Louise Lawton now, sorry, not Louise Holmes. It was like, why don't you just have a go and start it? So we were like, all right, okay, what do we need to do? And we did an event. Our first event was, I think it was about 2023 in the June, and we managed to get 35 people there. And that was our first one. Victoria came, Victoria spoke. We managed to get an external speaker. We did a bit about recruitment and selection and, you know, all the stuff we were trying to do, why we were trying to do Network Plus. And then the next event we had 100, and then now we're over 300. So it grows and it grows and it grows. And it started from a tiny little idea. And since, so some of the things we've done, some of the major things we've done, we looked at working hours. We've increased maternity pay. We were statutory, like a lot of people are, and we did a business case to increase maternity pay and look at that. We've adjusted lots and lots of policies. We introduced a menopause policy. We didn't even have one. And that's in the press a lot, isn't it, these days, menopause? But when it wasn't so much in the press, we started looking at that, and we started a menopause policy. We've done menopause champions. We've done sort of a career challenge with people. Eve was part of the career challenge of where you've come from, where do you want to go, what do you want to do, and it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger as it's gone along.
We've also like had the successes as well of the females into operations as well, which
Yeah,
was
so
a
that's
big driving force.
So that's our next big driving force we're trying to do, is getting women into operational roles.
I was about to ask that because, I mean, you're all members of the Women in Network Plus network, but reaching operations operatives is always a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think some of the challenges at the beginning were, you know, that some of the men in our business were just like, oh, women's group, you know, and it's, what do you talk about?
We're just going out for lunch.
Yeah, we're just going out for lunch, and you just, you know, but it's not. It's about making our working lives at Network Plus better. It's about talking about what challenges we come up against. Is what I'm coming up against similar to what someone else is? We're nationwide. We go all the way down to Cornwall now to reach all our members. We travel about now doing our sort of road shows, as we call them, when we do Women in Network Plus, and more people are coming. But we've started getting more and more men coming. So our plan for this year is that next time we have an event, someone brings someone who's never been before, and ideally a man at Network Plus, not a woman at Network Plus.
And how important is that to have men in the network, involved with the network?
I think it's really important. I think they need to understand what like Tracy said, the initial response that we got when we first started, to what we've got now, actually, and it has, opinions have changed, haven't they? Men have been part. Men have been. The male workforce have been part of it, and they've come to me when they've come to the meetings and the sessions. They've actually like got a really good understanding of what it is that we're aiming to achieve, and actually to be part of something special. And I think we can only continue that, but we need the majority of men in the business, especially operations wise, are male, and we need those people on side to be able to support us, to be able to continue to do what we're doing.
Yeah, and we've got them saying they want to come now, and they want to speak, you know, like, I'll be a speaker for you if you do another event in my area, and you know, people you wouldn't expect, like Carl Dixon is going to speak at our next one.
Does he know that yet?
He does.
Or is he going to watch this?
Well, maybe he might watch this and find out, but no, he said he would do it for me.
But it was good as well when we did the last road shows as well last year, and we went to the last ones. To sit in the rooms in, like, obviously Worsley, Derby and Bristol, and to sit around the room, and you've got managers in there, but you've got directors and MDs as well that are also sitting there, that having a listening to what you're talking about and taking it on board, and actually like championing you for what you're aiming to achieve, and that's a great feeling.
And we have our, sorry Andy, but we have our clients asking us to update them now on some of this stuff. So Women in Network Plus, Severn Trent always want an update on Women in Network Plus and diversity. So we go to their quarterly review meeting, and they ask for a bit on, like, what have we done since last time we spoke to them, what are we doing, diversity, graduates, apprentices, that sort of thing. Laura does a lot with UU. On her Wellbeing, so link in with them. Yeah,
so we've been involved in sort of a monthly get-together with our counterparts at United Utilities to be able to talk about what they're doing from a wellbeing and mental health perspective, sharing ideas with other people that work within that structure for UU. And it's great to obviously share ideas and come together on things as well, because it's the same industry, so we're all having the same issues, or dealing with the same problems, and it's talking about how, you know, if they've dealt with something, how can we do it, or, you know, best practice really as well between us.
Well, when you think about, you know, together with our clients, the numbers, the vast number of people that we serve across those contracts, whether it's water, whether it's gas, power networks, whatever it is, we're talking millions and millions of people that we're serving. So how important is it that we, as a makeup, you know, as an employer, reflect those communities that we're serving?
Yeah, so it's majorly important, isn't it? Some of the areas we work in different areas of the country, you want to have an understanding of that community you work for, and I think by having these networks, and the diversity group has lots of people from different backgrounds, and, you know, some of the things, like we've said before, we're learning all the time, and we don't know what that community might need, but it's a place to go to sort of ask that question and understand that demographic that you're working in. It's
100%. I think as well, linking in with our clients, like Tracy and Laura have said, like from the diversity perspective, we have been doing a lot of like external and internal like networking events with clients and stuff, just to see what they're doing, what can we do differently, can we go out in the community and do different things, are they going to be doing more community engagement in like different areas, what are they doing what we're not doing essentially, and we're seeing them quite a lot more. They're inviting us then to more external networks, so it's kind of building and we're getting more ideas.
But I think you've also been really successful, haven't you, over the last 12 to 18 months of like the lunch and learns that you've done, and like getting people to guest speakers to come and talk about certain topics and certain areas, because we know we don't have the answers to everything, but there's people out there that do, or there's people out there that could give us a different perspective on something, and like the take up of people that join those calls as well is
100%.
Yeah,
it educates us as well. And then Alicia, who we had doing a lunch and learn, got her doing an inclusive leadership workshop as well this month, which was good. So we got all the senior leadership team doing that, and obviously then we're going to roll that out like to the wider business.
So the forum, it's active, it's vibrant.
Yeah.
Could you just reflect on some of the successes that you've had, certainly since it was up and running?
Yeah, so we've talked about obviously the networking events we've done them internally and externally, a lot of them with clients as well. We've had a lot of guest speakers for lunch and learn, so they've kind of done like neurodiversity, we've done one with like autism, we've done Black History Month, so it's kind of educating and obviously making people more aware of what that entails. We've got better visibility in like communications. I think we're making people feel more included. We've put a survey out and all the responses came back saying that the forum makes them feel more included and makes them have a safe space to like voice their opinions. We've also done Manchester Pride, which we were the only contractor in the utilities industry in Manchester to be part of. We were alongside our clients as well, so that was fun. We've done a lot, to be honest. We've got ambassadors, obviously. They've got better ideas and can bring stuff to the table more than probably I can. We've got our board sponsor, which is Dave Prescott. He obviously helps to push it out at board meetings as well. It's too much, to be honest, to try and remember.
Fit into a podcast.
But you've got that top level buy-in as well, which is so crucial, because without that, things can fall flat. It can be a bit of an uphill battle without top level
exactly.
buy-in.
And it probably would have been at the start, I assume, but that's more mainly because we were kind of getting to grips with what we needed to do and how we needed to do it, whereas once you kind of know and you've got a bit of a path, you can obviously have them conversations. And we sit and meet with, especially like Dave Prescott and Dave Bond, like we'll sit and talk through everything, and sometimes they're pushing it probably more than we are as well, which is good.
Yeah. I think at every level we've got high level. I mean, Dave's our board sponsor for Women in Network Plus, but Kev's been to Arthur. James normally makes an appearance at them all, and Kev's really behind he's the one behind the Wellbeing and the mental health forum, definitely. Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that our chief executive Kevin Fowley, he's certainly a passionate supporter of these initiatives.
He's got no choice.
we can see.
We make sure he's a passionate supporter.
I'm sure he feels that encouragement from time to time.
Yeah, he does.
But that's good to see from the very top of the shop that you've got that support. Somebody has got your back and believes in what you're doing. In terms of diversity, again, if people feel included, they're more likely to stay around.
100%.
If they feel that they're going to be more part of something, more welcome at the company down the road, they're going to go to the company down the road.
Exactly.
We're in a marketplace, aren't we?
Yeah, it makes us also like more approachable, because people come to us. I mean, as HR people will come to us obviously with concerns or ideas anyway, but it just makes it more that people do want to now come to us. And if they don't necessarily want to come to us, or they don't feel comfortable, they've got the ambassadors to go to, or we have like the chats that go on and people will talk through that. I think it just makes people want to stay with the business. They feel like they're supported, they've got somewhere they can voice their opinions, and I think it's probably the same with
and that like you say, your leadership is bought into that as well, so it's not just us pushing the groups that we support. We are getting backing from the board and from senior managers that they work in the same way, and they know that that's how we need to be, and they get involved. They do get involved.
One thing we've all got in common, we're talking diversity, one thing we've all got in common is mental health and well-being. Everybody has mental health, everybody has some form of well-being. Laura, can you just talk us through your involvement in mental health and well-being at Network Plus and some of the initiatives that you've been involved with over the years?
So we've spent some time building a community of mental health first aiders. So we've got a strong group of 70 plus mental health first aiders who have been through training to be able to support any individuals across the business that need to reach out for any particular reason. And then what we're working on, which is a project at the moment, is building a core group of wellbeing champions that, if you like, will support the mental health first aider, so that they've got someone who can and support them. If they're supporting an individual, they've got someone else to be able to sort of fall back on and go to if they need some additional support. But they'll also help myself with the wellbeing to look at, you know, some of the initiatives that we can improve on, the training plans that we need to put together. But really, for me at the moment, it's getting that out there, that there is that support network. We've got some great, you know, policy in place in terms of supporting individuals that need it for counselling sessions, and we've got some really good success stories with that, people that we know that work for us that have been through that and been able to access that, because it's, you know, 6 to 8, 9 month waiting list for a doctor's appointment to be able to get onto a list for counselling. So the fact that we can do that for people that work for us is amazing. As someone who's been through that myself and knowing what that challenge is, to go step by step to appointments with doctors, to be able to see if you can have counselling sessions on the NHS, and we can just do that for someone if they need it. And there is, and obviously we've got the stories of like Will Mahaffey and things like that are all part of our growth and that support bubble, that support network.
And Will's been on this podcast, hasn't he?
Yeah,
and he's been very honest.
And he's no stranger to sharing his story, and his story spans a lot of topics. It's not just one particular area, but you know, you're right. Like, mental health affects everyone, and some days it's good mental health and some days it's not, and it's about knowing where they can go to and who those individuals are to be able to give them that helping hand on that day. We've introduced Pepe in the last 18 months, so there is a support network with Pepe that you can go to, especially if you know that your mental health at that time is being affected by a particular reason, because some people will know why their mental health is being affected. Some people it's you know, it's just happens, so that they can then contact Pepe and be able to find that additional support. We've shared that quite a lot on the internet. We push that quite a lot. There's posters around the offices, and if you're not already signed up to Pepe, then you're missing a trick. You should be
signed up. And so Pepe is a workplace app, isn't it? Yeah. And I would imagine that users would be, you know, users of the app might be people that might be more comfortable having that completely discreet.
Not everybody wants to bring it into work either, do they? Some people are fine, but other people don't. And that app as well, so once you log in, that belongs to you. So we can't see any of that. We can only see how many people use it. Can't see what you're using, what you're saying, who you are. It's just a number on our reports, isn't it? But that's somewhere to go. If you don't want to tell someone at work what is wrong, you can.
One of the biggest things as well, so me and Tracy attend meetings with our account manager as well for Pepe, and we go through all the stats every quarter. And one of the biggest things that gets me every time when we look at the stats is we've obviously got women's health, men's health, and we've got menopause on there as well that you can access. What gets me every time is the amount of men that have signed up for Pepe, because being sort of, maybe it's stereotypical, I thought it'll be the female population of the workforce that would download Pepe, but actually the men that are on that app that work for us far outweighs the women. The
biggest
side of
subscription we've got is men's health, which, you know, we have got more men in the business than female, but still the things they access is the chats, having the consultations, reading the articles. It astounds us every time, the stats on the men's health on Pepe. So it is getting used, and
that's probably a reflection, isn't it, of the stereotypical man who doesn't go to the doctors, doesn't share his problems.
And that's the thing that's being in operations as well, because that's that's the population that we need to reach out to. We can't hide from the fact that Network Plus is like Tracy said before, we've got a 20-80 split, and 80% of that population that works for us is male, and I'll probably say about 60 to 60% is probably operations out on site, out in the field, lone workers, you know, in that tough environment. You know, they get up and start work early, and they're digging a hole, and they're in the snow, or and we're all in the office and, you know, having a rosy time. They're the people that we need to be able to support, and they need to know that they can access that, and it's reaching that environment.
And what we tried to do with Pepe is you mentioned before, it's sometimes hard to touch our operations, is we wrote the letters to the home address and addressed it to them and the families. So because partners can get onto PEPI as well, so it's not just our employee, it's wives or husbands, even sisters or brothers, whoever you want, you can have a second option. So we wrote to home addresses in the hope that if they didn't open it, maybe the wife opened it and was like, what's this app about, and more people get on it. So, and we're always trying to push it, you know, like we say, it's got menopause on it, so that came through Women in Network Plus as well. It's a service dedicated to menopause, and it covers everything you could possibly want to talk about, and you can have a consultation and they can prescribe through it as well. So it really is just touch everyone in our business. So it's really important for us that people know about it and register. It's a good benefit to provide.
So it's good to know that the numbers are rising, the subscribers are rising. You've talked as well about mental health first aiders. Is there anything else that you want to mention in that mental health and wellbeing?
So I just think for me, for the mental health and wellbeing side of things, it's having people come into that community that we've got, that have got a passion to be able to support individuals. And, you know, like I said before, you don't have to be going through your own personal journey. You don't have to be able to resonate with someone. But if you've got a passion to be able to support the people that work in your office, or it's to be able to support the teams that you're working with, then get involved, share your ideas. You know, it's a work in progress, it's a working group, if you like, so we're sharing ideas constantly of how we can improve things. The wellbeing champion side of things is still relatively new, so they're the things that we're like working to improve on and achieve. But I can only do that as well if people want to be part of it with me, so that they can get on board, because they're working in that environment as well, and what works for us in Worsley might not work for an office in Derby, so that's what we need as well from that.
I also think that people are doing it every day without realising it anyway. Like, you'll support your colleagues, like your friends, your family, and you'll be doing it without
definitely
intentionally even knowing. So the fact then we can obviously provide even more support, coaching and like training obviously would help massively.
So I think this is a good place to close this segment of the podcast. Laura, you spoke really passionately about mental health, about your own experience, and you've given us a lot of great insight there. I know you've got to leave in a few seconds, and what I didn't mention at the start of the podcast, that we've got a special guest joining us as you depart.
As I leave.
So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to say thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again soon. So we've said goodbye to Laura, and now we welcome Courage. Thanks for joining us.
Great, thank you very much.
And great to see you. And thanks also for not just for lowering the age, you know, on this panel, but for lowering the age across the entire utilities industry. Well, part of the reason that we've asked you to be on the panel today is because you've got youth on your side, and because we want people to be able to look at you, younger people, and think, right, I want to be able to follow in those footsteps. There are opportunities here at Network Plus. So if we just take a step back to when you were at college, can you just tell us about which university you studied at, what you did, and how you arrived at Balfour Beatty, and then how you arrived at Network Plus?
Yes, so initially I was studying accounting in college, just because I've always wanted to deal with numbers. It's just something that I really love. But finishing college, I didn't have that work experience to actually go into the real world to practice. I then found an apprenticeship at Balfour Beatty. So joined as a commercial assistant, and then from there became a trainee QS. I had a mentor at the time who really helped me to get to or understand what's going on, the works on site, and build my knowledge commercially. And fortunately, she left Balfour Beatty and joined Network Plus. So when she joined Network Plus, again, due to the relationship that we've had in the past, she literally asked, do I want to come over? Because Network Plus is a really growing company. Not selling me the dreams, but giving me the right guidance in terms of, if you come over, this is what you will be achieving. Obviously, at first it sounds like, well, you are selling me the dreams here. But now that I've joined and over the years I've progressed, everything seems to be true, or it is true.
It is a dream working at Network Plus.
Exactly, it is. I can definitely relate to that. And starting at Network Plus as a quantity surveyor, again, we were in a team of, I think, 5 at the time. But over the years, putting myself forward in doing things that's allowed me to progress to being a senior quantity surveyor and now a commercial manager.
Right. So, going back to Tracy's point about living the dream. And, you know, we're not going to ask you to compare with Balfour Beatty or anywhere else, but tell us about the best things about working at Network Plus.
I think that the best thing, or one of the best thing that actually made me come to Network Plus was the fact that my mentor at the time said, you are in an office whereby the CEO, the directors all work in the same office.
So Courage talked about mentoring just, and that must be music to your ears in HR terms.
Yeah, HR terms. I think what Courage says is right. I think the CEO does walk past your door at Network Plus, and it is one of the things that is really attractive about working at Network Plus. It has a family feel, and everyone is quite loyal, and everyone is willing to be a mentor. So if you want a mentor or want to be a mentor, there's a way of going about that. There's a way of finding that out really easily, and it substitutes your day job. So your day job is there. You can have a line manager as your mentor. You can have someone completely different, who is different to you and brings a different perspective to how you work, really.
Now, we don't all enjoy that level of line of sight, that visibility to senior management. You know, we've got a lot of people in far-flung reaches.
Yeah.
How do they get on the radar? What can they do to make that?
Yeah, so we can
step?
seem quite Worsley-centric sometimes, can't we? Because head office is in Worsley, and I think whatever size your business, that does naturally happen. But we've got an intranet, we've got a team you can just pick up the phone and ring. So in learning and development, they've got a page on the intranet. If you want to be a mentor, there's questionnaires to fill in, and they match you with who is a suitable mentor. We try and put loads of stuff on the internal intranet. All our Women in Network Plus and diversity information is on there, and that's open for everybody, so everyone can get access to that. And there's lots of stuff on there regarding mentors, joining Women in Network Plus, getting involved with diversity, whatever you're looking for, really.
One of the things I'm interested in is using the internet as a platform for Courage's blog.
Oh, okay.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your blog? Because it does have relevance to the workplace, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I started thinking about creating a blog. I know I've had conversations before about the previous blogs I've owned, but this is more QS based, so more to do with the career that I'm currently doing. A while back, I tried searching how to become a quantity surveyor in the UK, and the first result that comes up is more selling you courses or giving you irrelevant information as to the actual way to become a quantity surveyor. So I thought, why not write an article that goes in depth as to what does a quantity surveyor do, what are the skill sets you have, not just what you learn in uni, but you need personal skills as well. So that is the basis of why I'm creating a blog, which should go live in June.
Oh, well, we look forward to that. Do we get many employees blogging separately or aside from Network Plus?
No, but there's going to be a Women in Network Plus blog now.
Well, so let's bring it back round to Women in Network Plus, because we're heading towards the end of the podcast, but I think it's important. We've heard a lot of positivity in the podcast this morning, a lot of passion, a lot of insight, and it's been fascinating to listen to people's experiences and viewpoints. But bringing it back to Women in Network Plus, which is so important in driving change at Network Plus, can you tell us a bit, Tracy, about what's next for Women in Network Plus?
Yeah, so we've done a lot so far. I've already mentioned quite a few of the things we have done. We're focusing on this year on women in operations as well. So one of the things we've been trying to get across is, when you look at our split of male to female, it's roughly 20-80, like we've said. It's a little bit different to that. A lot of that 20% are in support roles, are in office roles, and not a lot of females work in operations. We've got a good that's another stat that we started. When we started looking at women in ops, we had 35, and we've now got 65. So we've increased that, and that's through sort of the visibility of Women in Network Plus. We started a scheme in January last year, which was a Women in Ops scheme, where we will put through Raise the Bar qualifications, where they get a Women in Leadership qualification. We'll give them a mentor. And it can be sort of a workplace mentor for the role, so a technical mentor, but also a traditional type mentor on like coaching and behaviours and things like that. And we, Kev Foley was really supportive of it, and we tasked our contract directors of giving up 2 roles a year that could go to women who wanted to move in ops. And the reason for that is to badge them almost like trainee, because when we did a bit of a questionnaire and a bit of asking around in Women in Network Plus, the blocker was that they felt they didn't technically know the job to be able to apply for it. So they don't know how to lay water pipes or gas pipes, so therefore they won't go for it. And then when you speak to people in those roles, like you've got teams that do that, it's about understanding, like Kiri just said, you have people in your teams who do different things. And that was the blocker. So we kind of asked the contract directors to say, could you put up 2 roles as trainees so you don't have to hit the ground running? They are learning. You know the learning. They know they're going into a learning environment to learn that job. And so we started that scheme, and we've got a few people going through it who are doing Raise the Bar and who have got the mentors. But we're trying to push it a little bit further this year. So we're trying to push it further. We've got Victoria Grayson is our board sponsor for it. We've got testimonials of some people who are doing it. So it's also about working in ops can be tough, we know that, and it's balancing that with your family life and your work-life balance. So it's looking at all those different aspects of the role as well, and how we can make that more attractive for people wanting to apply for it. So that's a big project for us this year that we're kind of focusing on a lot, is to try and break down that barrier into operations now. What's stopping you? What can we do to get you there? That sort of thing, yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Thanks.
You know, it sounds like we're heading in the right direction, definitely heading in the right direction. We're getting younger people coming into the business, getting more women into operations, we're getting a more diverse Network Plus. This can only be good for the future of Network Plus, and good for the entire industry, really, because finally the industry is beginning to look like the communities it serves. Yeah. That can only be a good thing. So on the subject of good luck, Tracy, you've got an awards nomination that you want to tell us about?
Yeah. So we've been shortlisted for Best Women's Network with the Women in Utilities Awards, which is in conjunction with Utility Week. And the second time we've been up for it, so we're up for it again this year. But we've done so much more since we were last nominated for it. Victoria's also nominated for Woman of the Year, so we've got 2 nominations going in. But yeah, we're hopeful this year, and hopefully this podcast will help.
Get plugging it on LinkedIn.
Well, I'm sure Courage and I, speaking for the men at Network Plus, are wishing the women of Network Plus the very best success in those awards. And I think that's a really good place to finish. So come on, women in utilities. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.